everybody, welcome to our planning session on how to build strong vocabulary. So we're going to go through the process of what we do in our homeschool to build vocabulary without using a curriculum. So strong vocabulary, it benefits several areas. It helps your child to comprehend what they're reading. They become better writers when they have a stronger vocabulary, and they need to know 95% of the text to be able to understand what they're actually reading. So I'm going to take you through all the different things that we use to get my daughter, get her vocabulary stronger. So the first thing we do is we do word work. We go through a process of breaking down words. We think about it, we learn it, we talk about how to use it, and then how to notice that word in real life. So the first step is to actually choose a word. Now, there are three tiers of word. You want to have a certain type of word that you're breaking up, one that they're going to actually use and that's going to benefit them across text, across books, across conversations. So the first type of word is everyday words. Now, this is words that you shouldn't have to spend a lot of time on because they know these words: house, book, cat, run, dog, friend, those type of words. We're not going to spend a lot of time on those words because they usually know what they mean. But we also have high value academic words. And those words are those words that's going to show up across subjects, across books, across conversations. So that's the type of words that we are going to use for our word work. The third type of words are subject specific words. So like this week, we are focusing on plant parts and functions and science. So a subject specific word is going to be like roots and stem and leaves and seeds and flowers and fruit and stuff like that. But when we're doing our word work, it's important to choose a word that's value high academic word. All right, so I'm going to show you where we start. We start off with choosing a word. Where do we get those words from? We use the word of the day. We have a podcast that we get a word of the day from, or we use 365 words every kid should know. We're also reading this Vanderbeeker series, so we pull unknown words from this series as well. We also get them through conversations or through movies. I know my daughter's always asking, what does this mean? When she hears something, what does it mean? I stop, and in the midst of that, I talk about what it means at that time. But if I feel that it's a high value academic word, we're going to do some word work on it later. So the first thing we do is we choose our word. Then we predict the meaning. What do you think this word means? What clues help you to guess this word? Does it sound like another word you know? What feeling does this word give you? So after she makes her prediction, then we actually look up the definition of the word. So when we're looking up the definition, we use Google. So you can use a dictionary, you can use anything you want. We go to Google because the goal is for her to be able to research all of these steps and do it on her own. So when we first started, I modeled every step. But now what I do is I give her a blank sheet, or you can use a notebook. It doesn't matter. It don't have to be printed out. This is in my guide. So I use it, but I put the word on a sticky note, and then she goes through all of these steps that I'm about to take you through on her own. But I had to model this at first. So then she looks up the definition. After that, she puts the word in the sentence. Even model what you want the sentence to look like, because we have good sentences and we have weak sentences. You know, those weak sentences that they use all the same descriptive words, fun, love, and like all of the different things. I want her sentences to be high quality, high valued sentences. So when she's writing, her writing does not just sound generic. So that's something I model as well. So then she put that word in the sentence, and then we create real life examples. So one week our word was pollution. So she talked about the pollution in the water. We were outside, we were out and about, and she talked about the lines in the sky and how they pollute the air and all those different types of things like that. So you have to make a connection to real life. This allows the definition of that word and what that word actually means to stick. Use it in conversation. Don't let it just be something you put on the side. That's why it's important to build your vocabulary that in a wide range of ways, instead of just like, I know with a curriculum, you're given a vocabulary list, you're given the words that you have to what is it called, that you have to memorize and you have to know the definition to, and then you may take a test on it or whatnot. But if it's not something they're using every day, they're not likely to remember those words. So be intentional with the word work. And the next part, we break apart the word. So when I am choosing a word, I'm intentional about the word based on the vocabulary skill that I want to work on at that time. So if that word has a prefix, we're going to break down what that prefix means. If the word has whatever the root word is, what does this root word mean without the prefix and without the suffix? If there's a suffix, what does it mean? So we actually break the word apart if it can be broken apart. If it cannot be broken apart, that's okay. That's okay. Just go through, we just skip that step. So we break it apart, the prefix, the root word, and the suffix. And she's Googling all of this. So she's searching this. Okay. I'm going to stress this. You have to model what it looks like and do it a few times before they do it on their own. But she's searching what the prefix means. She's searching what the different word parts mean. And then she's putting it together to determine what that word means. I'm going to give you an example. If the word was careless, care means to look after someone, to pay attention. The suffix means without. So the meaning from the parts means without care or not paying attention. So that's the process we go through when we're breaking down our words. Then we reflect on those word parts. What does that prefix mean? What does the root word mean? What does the suffix mean? How do these parts help to explain the word? So that's a big part of our word work. The next thing we do is we find a synonym and antonym for the word. If you have not taught this skill, that's an opportunity to teach. The synonym means almost the same thing, and the antonym means the opposite. So that's an opportunity for you to teach what that means at that time if you have not taught it already, but we do that as well. And when I was modeling this for her and we're going through the process, and she was Googling what's a synonym for the word, whatever that word was. What does it mean? Look at the words. Look at the words that it give you. What does it mean? Oh, it means the same. Well, let's look at this. Oh, it means opposite. So take that opportunity to become a teaching moment. Now, that's the different things where we are right now when it comes to, but you can adapt the guide that we use to go through this process to any age group from ages 8 all the way through high school age. So 8 through 18. And we don't do all of the steps right now because of she's 10. But this is the next step that we're going to be moving into, is building the word family. So whatever that word is, we're going to talk about what does that word look like in noun form? What does it look like in verb form? What does it look like in adjective form? What does that word look like in adverb? And other related words with that word that goes with that meaning of that word. So that's another process. As your kids, also for older kids, you may move into connotation, the emotional echo, the tone, the register, what's the right fit, figurative language, what goes beyond literal. So that's the thing that we're going to move into. But this is all part of your word work, depending on how old your child is or what level that they currently are on. This is going to determine where you're going to start. We did not do this overnight. We started with just a prediction and a definition. Then we moved into breaking up the words and putting it in a sentence and giving real life examples. This did not all happen overnight. And now we're going to be moving into the different word families. What does it look like a noun, a verb, or whatnot for the word that we chose? They're creating their own word bank. So that's the goal of this process, is to create a word bank. Now, another way that we teach vocabulary is we do context clues. We use the book she's reading in 2 ways. One, when she's reading, she's always identifying unknown words, and we can use that word for word work. But there are moments when she come across a word and she doesn't know what it means, and she feel like she gets stuck in her reading, and she just Googles that meaning. And that's okay. It doesn't all have to be a big drawn out thing for every word, because it's going to take a lot of time if that's the case. But we teach context clues where whatever the unknown word is, We look at the words around it to identify what that word means. And that's something that we practice with. The more you do it, the better they're going to be able to learn how to use context clues. Context clues does not have to be one of those things that's taught in isolation. The more you do it, the better that's going to be. So we're teaching all the same vocabulary skills. We're just teaching it through whatever the word of the day is, whatever words that she may not know. And that's that. Another way, conversation. Everyday conversation. We don't go many days by when she's saying, what does this mean? If she heard somebody say it, or if she's watching something and she's like, Mom, what does that mean? That's a teaching moment to build that your child's vocabulary. Read aloud. So right now, we're reading the Bible. And we know that sometimes those words can get complex. So she reads, but I do a lot of the reading. And it doesn't have to be the Bible, it can be anything. If you're reading this, you can read a chapter, she can read a chapter. But also through read alouds is another way that we build vocabulary. And then the last way is our subject specific vocabulary. So, like I showed you earlier, we are working on parts of a plant. We do not use a science curriculum. We are going to get out in the garden. We're going to go through the process of the parts of the plant. This is just the first section of it. And our academic vocabulary is going to be roots, stem, fruits, flowers, leaves, seeds, and then whatever else. When we move into pollination and photosynthesis and all of those things, that is subject specific vocabulary. As your child gets older, the text that they're reading is going to be more complex. The skill doesn't change. The words are just the thing that gets more complex. So when she's reading a different level book, her vocabulary is going to build, because we're going to go through the same process on building her vocabulary. It's just going to be with higher leveled words. And that's it. This is what we use every day. It's at the point where it's almost an independent activity for her. Every now and then I have to step in, but that's how we build vocabulary. We build it through natural conversation. We build it through subject-specific words, through read alouds, doing word context clues, and just being intentional without using a curriculum.